Going back to like the being competitive part, I mean, I remember even in high school, there was one year where I didn't think our women's team was going to be that competitive. And I was trying to get every one of my friends to sign a petition to let me play for the men's team. That leading to the thought of like, I want to take this somewhere. Like, I know that.
Today on the show, I'm talking with former D1 soccer player at Cal State Fullerton, youth soccer coach, and now entrepreneur. Jazzmin Mancilla is up next. Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Adams, and this is where we dive deep into the world of sports, talking with retired athletes, current athletes, and everyone that makes the sports world great. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the show. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, Audible, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And please take a moment to leave the show a review on Apple or Spotify, or both. It helps our show get discovered by others. Now, grab your iced tea or your coffee, get ready to be motivated and inspired, because this is where the real stories are told. Today on the Fifth Quarter, I'm sitting down with someone whose soccer journey took her around the world and whose story shows what resilience really looks like. Jazzmin Mancilla played competitive soccer for 15 years, winning 2 national championships with powerhouse club teams Arsenal and Legends FC. Leading her high school squad to a CIF title her junior year and runner-up her senior year, she went on to Cal State Fullerton, where she helped her team win multiple Big West championships and compete in 4 NCAA tournaments. After tearing her ACL twice, Jazzmin didn't just hang up her cleats. She redefined what it means to win off the field. She's coached, worked in finance, become a mom, and is now launching her own soccer training business. Today, we're talking about everything that's brought her to this point, and most importantly, her next chapter, her fifth quarter, and what she's learning about identity, reinvention, and balance along the way. I am thrilled to welcome to the show, Jazzmin Mancilla.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, welcome. I love to tell people how we met, and you're actually a teammate of a previous guest, Kishi, who was in episode 78. So you haven't listened to that, please give her a listen as well. But yeah, I saw you, I think on Instagram, you had liked one of her posts or something, and I'm like, who is this girl? And I'm just curious, and I looked at your profile. One, you live in Knoxville now. So that was a plus, obviously, not Knoxville, but Tennessee. And I just very interested in your story, and you're a brand new mom. So let's talk about, I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit. You moved from California to Tennessee, how many years ago?
Been about 2.5 or so.
Okay. And what precipitated that move? What really made you want to move across the country?
So my parents moved out here. They retired out here, and both of my brothers, they live back home in California. And the short version of it is a bad breakup, like a lot of people. I have lived in California my entire life. When will I have the opportunity to be single and see another part of the country again and just experience a different part of my life somewhere else? So my parents were here. I came to visit. And I was like, oh, this is actually not bad. I mean, when you live in one place, you only know that. So my mind was like, they live in the sticks. They live in the middle of nowhere. And I came to visit, and I was like, there's a Target right down the street. There's all this shopping. There's a mall. I was like, I could live here. Like, it's no different.
And it's beautiful. It is a beautiful area. I love Tennessee. I tell everybody that. I could not say more about it. My cousin that we were talking about prior to that, she was kind of lucky. She lives in California, grew up there, but her summers were spent in Tennessee with her grandparents. And so I kind of really got to grow up with her as well. And she's kind of split. She has 2 personalities. She has the Tennessee personality and the California personality, and she's very proud of that fact. What has been the biggest eye opener for you living in Knoxville?
Probably the people and the culture. I mean, it's sad to say, but I came here and I almost thought that people were putting on a show when I came here, because I walk into a grocery store and people just start talking to you while you're checking out. And I'm like,
yes, they will.
What? Or like, we went to lunch one day and some people overheard us talking, and she's like, I don't mean to be rude, but like, and just started jumping into the conversation. And I turned to my parents and said, is this normal? Do people do this everywhere? And they're like, oh yeah, everyone's so friendly here. And I'm like, so not used to that. Everyone back home, it's just full speed all the time. Everyone's
Exactly.
just walking by each other, and you never even stop to see how somebody's doing. So
It is, and it's something that I think it's a great part of the culture. Sometimes people get a little too nice and a little too like want to be in your business. I grew up in a very small town, and so that was not always a perk. But yeah, it's great. And the other thing that I'd mentioned, you're a mom now. You have a little boy, so tell us
mhm.
a little bit about him.
Yes, he's 16 months old now. He's just a whirlwind. He started off as the calm baby, and now that he's into his toddler phase, he is full speed ahead. And I just love everything about him. He's so much fun. He looks like his father's twin. Like I know they say the babies always look like the
Right.
dad, but he is literally his dad. But personality, he's all me.
Now, what would that mean? Your personality? How would you describe your personality then?
Bubbly, just giggly. His looks, he makes the same facial reactions as me, and everyone is always like, "Oh, you are famous for your facial reactions, good and bad and ugly." So,
So let's take it back to when you were a kid
yeah,
and you did grow up in California and you are a soccer player or you were a soccer player. So when did soccer first become a part of your life?
I have been playing since I was 3 years old. I
Awesome.
know that's the case for a lot of people that are playing pretty competitively, but I know my parents, they let me try all sports like most parents like to. I think I was in dance class one day, and the story my parents always tell me is I was doing the little kick tapping, and
Yes.
I just got super bad, and I yelled at my teacher, and I walked out.
Oh my God.
So then I started trying soccer, and I mean, when you see all the little kids play, you always see, there's the butterfly chasers, as they call it. And for whatever reason, I was always dialed in on the ball. My parents were like, that's the sport she's going to play. And I
So
just had an knack for it.
so what about it? Did you like how did you feel when you were playing soccer?
It just was freeing. Like, I knew that, I mean, for everything, even, I mean, compared to school, compared to subjects, compared to things that I tried doing, like it's just something that I was good at and I didn't have to try hard. I didn't have
Right.
to, I mean, like I have two older brothers and one was really good at music. So I would always try and keep up with my older
Yeah.
brothers. I'd try and learn music to stay with my dad and my brother, and I just couldn't do it. But I went to kick a soccer ball. I went to practice. I do things and it just came naturally to me. And it was just such a great feeling to like be like, this is mine. This is what I can do.
If I could go back, because I grew up in an era where I think because I'm going to age myself a little bit, but most like the girls, all you really had was like softball growing up. And I never had an interest in that at all. But, I wish now, because I do love sports, and I wish now that I had had some experience playing sports of some kind, because I feel like I kind of missed out on it. But I see all these little girls, and obviously soccer is the biggest rage in basketball, but it's just really it just makes me so happy to see all these youngsters, all these young girls like wanting to compete, because I think it gives them something, more empowerment, than they would have had without it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really a good thing. So what kept you going back? You played club soccer as well as school soccer, correct?
That's
What kept you going back day after day with all of that hard work? Because was the club soccer going on at the same time as the high school, or was that off season?
Yeah, club soccer was basically year round. The only time it stopped was during the 2, 3 months that high school was going on.
Wow.
So it was just, I mean, you really didn't get a break. And we said high school was our break. But then, even back then, I mean, I don't know how competitive it's gotten now, but even back then, our high school coaches were pushing us just as hard as our club coaches were pushing us because,
Yeah.
you want to represent your high school. So,
Yeah,
but
and they definitely. I would think that winning things and showing that kind of achievement would also bring in dollars,
yeah,
to the school system as well.
yeah.
So Kishi and I were talking about body image. We got into it just a little bit. As a young soccer player, how did you view your body and fitness at that time? Did you struggle with any kind? And I'm probably talking about junior high and high school, because I think when you're a 9-year-old kid, you don't really think about that much. But
Yeah.
like as you became a teenager, did you have any certain perception of your body and your view of fitness overall and exercising?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think it definitely got more prevalent in high school. I would say I don't think I had that concern in middle school at all. High school onwards, there's just so much of that need to start wearing makeup and
Yeah.
doing your hair. And I mean, I have very curly hair naturally. So when I was younger, my hair was flat ironed every single day, and just the perception to keep up and look a certain way was just a constant pressure. I remember like there was a lot of times I would just show up in sweats and comfortable clothes because I'm a soccer player. That's how I
Right.
like to identify. I don't want to be like that pretty girl every day that spends an hour doing my makeup. And to each their own. Like there are girls that
Right.
do that, and that's their hobby. But yeah, I mean, I definitely had comments made. I remember one of my best friends telling me like, "Oh, this guy said you would look so much better if you wore makeup," and I'm like, "Well, then that's not the guy that I want to be with."
Yeah.
Because I play soccer for a living. I'm not going to sit here and do my face all crazy just to look good for a guy. Like, that's not me.
Exactly. And I hope everybody out there is listening to that. It is really important. It's important to, be confident in yourself. Um, so as you got into junior high and high school, when did you kind of realize that you were pretty good? Or did you ever have that moment?
I don't know if I had that moment myself. I mean, outside of being here on a podcast, like I'm pretty humble. I don't really like bringing up my playing career, but my dad is always the first one to be like, "Oh, you remember that moment?" I'm like, "Yeah, we talked about that like a month ago, Dad. You love to bring this up." But I mean, I started playing club when I was 8, and I think that's when my parents realized it was kind of apparent, like, "Hey, you're a bit above, the ASO or whatever rec
Right.
ball skills that it is." So that's when we kind of started to take that leap into the club realm and just start trying our luck at that.
Okay, I'm going to give you some free advice.
Yes.
It's great to be humble, but you have an impressive career, and that is your marketing tool.
Yeah.
And be proud of what you did and don't be quiet about it. You don't have to and that's something that I see all the time is and it's one thing that I coach is that women don't necessarily want to talk about their successes. They want to be, they want people to kind of notice it, but they don't want to talk about it. That
Yeah.
is your marketing tool right there.
Yeah.
Be proud of what you accomplished. Be proud out loud of what you accomplished because there are little girls out there that want to be you.
Yeah.
And if you're quiet, they're not going to know. So I'm going to get emotional. Oh my God.
I was gonna
Um,
say.
but that's my advice to any female watching this podcast is please, there is a way to, but you are a product. You've started your own business. We're going to talk about that. That is your marketing tool right there. You did those things. Be proud of those. You need to talk about those. And we're going to talk about that today too. Okay. Okay. That's enough of that. Okay. So, high school, let's get back to that. When did you start getting recruited by colleges?
It was, I mean, so we started the process pretty early. I'd say freshman year is kind of when we started getting
Right.
into that realm. Obviously, there's a ton of rules in place of when you can actually contact
Yeah.
coaches and when they can contact you. But from my personal experience, I think it really got serious my junior year, which was also kind of a hard year in the sense that we were going through a lot of club dynamic changes. At the time, I don't know how things work now, but you got recruited more through club than you did high school. I think
Interesting.
conveniently, I did get noticed by one of my coaches at the time through high school, but then the other one saw me through club. And what I was getting into is that our club started falling apart, my Arsenal club, which was
Hmm.
when I started making that shift into the Legends team. And the problem there was at the time, the way club system works now, you might have Legends as the main club, but there's Legends West, there's Legends East, there's Legends South.
Oh,
So there's a ton of tiers where people have options in all different cities and regions to play under this one powerhouse club. At the time, it was just Arsenal, it was just Legends, Slammers, Blues, and there
right.
was probably 8 clubs. And every club from where I was living was probably an hour and a half to 2 hour drive in traffic. So when we were realizing that the club was falling apart, excuse me, sorry. When we realized that the club was starting to fall apart, my only option was to play up a year with the last team that was aging out of Arsenal, and they weren't going to fall apart because they were the
Right.
last team, basically. Or travel 2 hours, manage doing homework on the road, all that stuff, getting home at probably 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
And for me, I didn't feel that that was worth it for my parents to have to do.
Yeah.
I believed in my ability that I would get recruited, just playing up a year, which I think it did in retrospect. I think it did hurt a little bit. But I believe in, like God's work and what he had planned for me. And I
Right.
ended up at Cal State Fullerton. So I still ended up getting recruited and getting a scholarship to college. Is it the biggest name school? No, definitely not.
Hey,
Um,
I knew who it was.
I was gonna say they're known for baseball typically, but
Oh,
um,
I don't know what sports, but I've heard of the college. So, I mean, there have been people on here that have told me where they went to college, and I have to look it up. I'm
yeah.
like, I've never heard of that school.
So I mean, to your point, I mean, I had a good career, and I am happy with the career I had when I went there. And like I said, I believe it's all because of the plan God had for me, and that's that. So I'm not going to knock it, but yeah, I mean, I think playing up a year might not have been the best for me looking back on it. Maybe I would have had more options, maybe not, but who's to say?
Um, you talked about high school and being in those two clubs. You won a national championship with each of those clubs.
Yeah.
How did that, like, what was that process for you like, and what was the demand on your body?
I mean, when you're young, you just feel like you can
Were
keep
they
going and do it all.
were they back to back, or were there a few years in between? Because I know obviously you won one with each club.
Yeah, there was probably a few years between because the one that I won with Legends, I want to say was probably around my senior year of high school. Because I remember when we went on to play in the regional tournament after that, I was not able to go because I was preparing for college. So it was that
Right,
summer, and I couldn't make that one. The one for Arsenal had to be at least like 2, 3 years prior.
right.
Um, and I mean, it's tough. I mean, you play in the one big state tournament every year, but prior to that, you're playing in all these other competitive tournaments. I mean, I remember Surf Cup was a huge one down in San Diego. Um, and even though you're young and you're doing and like your body can push a lot more than when you get
Yeah,
older, I think like you still don't know how much you're putting on your body constantly, just going, going,
sure.
going. But what I will say is, I think what was different for me, I don't think there was a ton of emphasis on playing multiple sports back then. At least
Right.
I felt like, hey, I'm good at soccer. I want to hone in on that. I think I stopped playing multiple sports in middle school because I didn't want to get injured for soccer, knowing
Right.
that was my main sport. So that's kind of where I was at. I was just a single sport person in high school.
Several of the athletes on here, they've talked about how their parents actually set them down. I know one person, I think it was a lady, she said her parents actually set her down at like sixth grade and was like, okay, you need to make a decision. You cannot continue all these sports. You need to like pick one. But several of the athletes on here, they've talked about how, they had to make a decision early on what was going to be. And I want to say it's more so the women, because I think most of the men have played multiple sports until they got into high school. And then for whatever reason, they would focus on one thing. Um, how did, in terms of family, because you have your soccer friends, you have your soccer family, and then you have your family. Um, was it hard to maintain friendships outside of the soccer world in middle school and high school?
I honestly think I didn't have too much of an issue with my friends as I did my actual cousins and immediate family. I think most of the times we had tournaments, it was a Thanksgiving tournament, it was a Christmas
Yeah,
tournament. So whenever it came to spending time with our extended family and them doing stuff over the summer, we always had a timeshare over the summer that we would all meet and do a big family gathering. I just was never around because I was always at these competitive tournaments.
yeah,
And that took precedence for me to want to further my career. I was like, I love my family, but
right.
I'd rather really get noticed when I can get noticed. And I mean, the younger years were probably different, but once I start getting into that eighth, ninth grade, high school age, it was like, no, we're all in. Like, we're not missing things. I mean, you even had to make the difference between, are you making that decision to go to homecoming or are you going to go play your soccer game?
Exactly, exactly. Um, you know, as you go from middle school into high school, um, what was your thought process as to what your future plans were?
You know, going back to like the being competitive part, I mean, I remember even in high school, there was one year where I didn't think our women's team was going to be that competitive. And I was trying to get every one of my friends to sign a petition to let me play for the men's team. And I think like
But I love that. I love that.
that leading to the thought of like I want to take this somewhere. Like I know that I'm strong and I'm competitive and I know I can do big things, and I think that was just my thought process of like I want to play in college. I want to play pro one day. Like I need to make this apparent now. So I
Right.
think that was kind of my mindset like from early on. Like I know that I want to go down this route and just see where it can take me.
When you started at Cal State Fullerton, well, obviously you have to figure out what you want to study. When you entered Cal State, did you have an idea what you wanted to study at that time?
I thought I did.
And what?
I went in as a business major. Um,
Okay.
I'm terrible at math and quickly
I
realized.
am too. Do not feel bad. Do not feel bad about that at all.
And yeah, I took my first math class in the business route and was like, no, I got to change this really quickly. So I immediately pivoted and went into kinesiology. That
Mm-hmm.
was my main study. That's what I thought was going to be my only study. And I know we'll probably get into this, but after tearing my ACL, I had to double major and then stayed within the health science route and got my second major in health science or public health, whatever they're calling it
Right.
these days.
Right. Now, your first ACL tear, was that when you were in high school?
It was my senior year of college.
A senior year. Okay, that's right. Okay. Um, okay, let's talk about the difference between high school sports, high school soccer and college soccer.
Yeah.
What was the biggest difference for you?
I would say the strength and conditioning aspect. I mean, they say every time you step up to a new level,
Mhm.
you're gonna feel that. And I didn't realize how big a difference like that strength and conditioning portion made of just lifting weights, doing actual conditioning and not just like running a couple
Right.
sprints here and there. But I mean, it's very like we go in, we'd have our weights before practice in college every day. So it was, 6 to 7 or 7 to 8, whatever it was. And then we'd have practice for the next 2 hours and then classes the rest of the day. And everything is so regimented in college. You have your schedule, you know what you're doing all day long, which is sounds helpful. I mean, it's stressful. You got to make sure you're getting to class on
Right.
time. I think that's the biggest difference. High school, you're still just kind of floating along and having fun and doing as you please. I mean, yeah, it's just, I think, night and day difference. I mean, I don't think anyone truly prepared me for what that was going to look like when I was entering college.
It's interesting because I would say probably 75% of the female athletes that have been on here have talked about how the strength and conditioning was so much more focused, and some of them didn't even lift weights in high school.
No, no.
And like they had to just it was crazy the difference between, and obviously when depending on the state and the high school and the coaches and everything, those things are kind of always going to be different. But it's just been interesting that that's been, and I can't say the same thing for the male athletes. I think that, for the male athletes, they've done more strength training in high school, maybe not to the extent they do in college, but, they have. What was the easiest transition for you from high school to college?
Um, I guess playing, as bad as that might sound,
No, 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 that doesn't have to be bad at all.
I think that to say, I mean, work ethic was never an issue for me. I mean, they give you a packet prior to going into college with here's how to prepare, here are some fitness tests to do, and I like I said, I knew my goal. I wanted to start. I wasn't going to be content if I wasn't starting. I knew I had the ability to. We'd go out and
Right.
me and my dad would go watch some college games, and I was like, I know I can fit in with the players that are on the field. So I think that was probably the easiest thing, was just making sure, hey, if we're starting practice, like it's game on from the second you start practice, from the first summer training to the time we start official trainings, like it's go time. Like there's no time to slack. There's no time to build up slowly, like full throttle.
I love that. I really do. So the first college game you had, did you start? Real talk. I want to help more people like you show up online with confidence, starting with your LinkedIn profile. If your profile still reads like a job history instead of a reflection of who you are now, we need to fix that. I offer a LinkedIn makeover service where I rewrite your headline, your about section, and your experience to tell your story in a way that gets noticed, that showcases your expertise. It's personal, it's real, and it's all about helping you stand out for the right reasons. Book your makeover at sandy-adams.com/LinkedIn, and let's get your profile working for you.
I did. I got that call, I think it was the Friday before, and it's sad to say, but they usually say you kind of get your break when someone gets injured.
It's true. Yes.
I do think one of the girls was a junior, maybe senior. She was in my position. I don't know for sure if it was the injury or if, I had earned it. I'd like to believe it was just a little bit of both. We'll say it's a little bit of both. But I know I worked for that, and I know that. I mean, based on the conversation I had with my coach, he's like, "Let's go. Let's see what you got. It's game time."
I that's a great example, because to me, I would say it doesn't matter how you got there. To me, what's important is how you showed up. I talk a lot about Tom Brady. I wasn't a New England Patriot fan or anything, but I talk about him because he has a great story. He was selected 199 in the draft. Okay. Mm-hmm. I believe 6 quarterbacks were selected before him. And then he kept going until an opportunity arose for him to step in, and he was ready. And I think that to me, I think a lot of times people, they want to have that opportunity immediately, or they feel like they've been pushed aside. But when you get to college, like, that's the best of the best.
Yep.
From high school to college, there's less athletes playing, obviously, because there's less roles and positions and teams than high school. And, it's what you make out of the situation, whether it's sports, whether it's a new job, whatever it is, it's what you make out of that counts. And to me, looking at that for you, it's what you made out of it.
100%.
And how you showed up every day for that. Did you enjoy all of the exercise, like all of the strength and conditioning, and did that feed into your confidence level?
If we're getting honest, I did not enjoy.
No, please.
Please. We always joke that we're like, I think we might be the backup track team or cross country. I don't think everything was always probably the best for our bodies. I will say we did make a very dramatic change my junior summer, where our strength and conditioning coach started a new fitness program for us. And I ended up seeing, I want to say actually it was the summer going into my 4th year before I had torn my ACL, because I remember I was like, wow, this is the fittest I've ever felt. This feels amazing. It didn't feel like we're just running to run.
Right.
But that to also say, I think the random tests that our coaches did, and that's the running I'm referring to as not being the most helpful, while it wasn't the best maybe on our bodies, I think mentally it put us in a different place. And that to say, we had a run on one of the local streets. It was a hill. It was like a set of 3 hills where you got up one, then there's another set, and then there's one more. And we called that street, or the street name was Moody. Right. And we always joked that season that whenever we would feel down and tired and like we had nothing left to give, we'd all just start yelling at each other, Moody, Moody. So I think even though there were times where it's like, man, you really hate this running, this run isn't doing anything but just making us exhausted, it gave us that mental recollect of like, hey, things way harder than just running for 90 minutes. We've done things that our bodies didn't think we could possibly do. And
Right.
you can still do it. There's more in you always.
And it also, that does, it's taking that action and showing that you can conquer something. And it's much easier to look back on it than it is to be in it and trying to get
Yeah.
through it, definitely. Um, so let's talk about that first ACL tear. When did it happen exactly?
It was our home opener, my senior year of college against St.
Man.
Mary's. And the worst part of it was my assistant coach, Kellen. He had actually just transferred up to St. Mary's and he became one of the coaches up there. So
Oh,
it was crazy because obviously, we know him and we were so close. And then for it to happen that game against his team, it was just, it wasn't great. I mean, a home opener, it's never great, but it did fortunately allow me to take that redshirt year because of the injury being right at the start of season.
right. How was that for you mentally though? You're entering your senior year. It's the first game of the season, and that happens, and that has to play with your mind.
Yeah, it's definitely the hardest thing I've ever been through. And I mean, that's crazy to say because I've had a baby now.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I mean, mentally, yes, I think that's probably one of the hardest things I've been through because I was on such a high going into senior year. I was going to be one of our main free kick takers as a defender, which is not normal. But I mean, I was just so prepared for this year. I think, like I said, I was at the top of my fitness that I had ever been. I mean, you're a senior, you're going into it. I think we had
Right.
10 seniors that year. So we were like, this is our year. Like, we're going to be amazing this year. And then that happens. And the thing is that you hear stories of people tearing their ACL.
Mhm.
And in that moment when it happened, even though that was probably the first real injury I ever had in college, I had maybe one concussion
Yeah.
prior, but
Jeez.
serious injury. I knew that nobody would believe I was hurt because I didn't get hurt. And so in my mind, I think the mental process I was going through in that quick 30 seconds was like, hey, you need to scream so somebody knows you're actually hurt.
Did you
And
fall down?
yeah, so it was basically like a 50-50. I don't know if it was the plant or the actual tackle, but I was at midfield and another player was coming at me. And I think the ball just got too far ahead of me. So when I stepped in for
Oh,
it,
that makes me hurt.
the other player, I think their momentum, my plant,
Mm.
maybe a little bit of all of it kind of just moved me the wrong way. And it popped. And I remember that's kind of a sign that most people know is like, if you hear a pop, it's
Yeah.
probably not a good thing.
Um, did you scream?
Oh yeah, my mom. So if you ever pull up a picture of Cal State
I'm
Fullerton field, it is a dome. It used to be a football field stadium
Oh,
before they
cool.
put it. So my mom, she sat at the very top of the stadium all the time, dead center of center field, and she just said it was like blood curdling, like worst thing I've ever heard.
Did she run down and get on the field too?
Oh yeah, both my parents were immediately just waiting there, and I was like, I know it. It's they had to carry
That's,
me off. I couldn't even walk off because I mean I don't know if it was just mentally I couldn't walk off or what, but I just yeah it was bad.
you know, I would say the past year, you hear a lot more about ACL tears in various sports, football, basketball, soccer. And I don't know if it's because I just haven't paid attention before, but it just seems like that's more of a common injury now than it has been.
Yeah.
Um, Prior to your senior year, like let's talk about right before you start the season, your senior year. What were your goals for after high school, for after college at that moment? All right, before we get into the next topic, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about something that can really help you level up your personal brand. I've created an exclusive new book called The Visionary Personal Brand Playbook. It's perfect for those of you who have big goals but aren't exactly sure how to make your brand stand out or, for that matter, where to even start. It's packed with actionable tips that you can start using right now, today. If you're interested, head over to my website at sandy-adams.com/playbook and grab your copy. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I mean, my goal was to enter the draft. Obviously, back then it was a lot smaller, and it's so amazing now that the draft and the women's league has just constantly been getting a new team
Right.
almost every year, every other year. But at the time, I think there still was only 6, 7 teams in the league.
Right.
Um, but I mean, again, whether it was a foolish belief or not, I believed in myself and what I did. I knew other players that were forwards that were entering the draft, and I was like, I've defended you. You haven't gotten past me. Why shouldn't I enter the draft?
Exactly. That's the attitude to have. Absolutely.
So
Um, how did that change, obviously, after the injury?
yeah, I mean, I was really mentally down from that. And it wasn't even that I didn't think I could come back, but I mean, I did my recovery. I got it done in 9 months.
Wow.
Personally, I don't know if I pushed myself as hard as I could because I had never been injured, so I didn't know how
Sure.
hard I could push. So I think if I had enough time, if I had a full year, I think I would have been really set for that 5th year, senior year.
Right.
But I don't think I was. So for the remainder of my 5th year, it was just constant injuries, like overuse injuries, where I would have like plantar fasciitis, or I would have
Yeah.
a tendonitis in my knee, and just different things just kept coming up to where the last game of our regular season, I went in for a slide tackle, which was so preventable. But as me being the last defender on corner kicks, I always stood at the midline. That was my job. If the ball comes out, that's your job.
Right.
So I ended up having to step in. I make a really good slide tackle that ends that play, and we don't get a one-on-one with the keeper. And I tear my hamstring.
Oh my God.
So now, I mean, we still pushed on. We made it into our tournament that year, which is the tournament that qualifies for the NCAA. So I
Right.
sat out a whole tournament, which was unfortunate, but I'm playing on a torn hamstring. So I'm like, okay, if I have any chance of playing in the NCAAs, I need to rest this
Sure.
as best as I can. So I sat out the 2 games that we had. We win our Big West tournament, and now we are qualified to play in the first round of the NCAAs. So I'm just mentally preparing for that. We pulled Pepperdine was the team that we drew to play that year. Um, and I just, yeah, I mean, I never ended up getting in. I warmed up, but I don't think the coaches wanted to put me in that big of a game with like a torn
Sure.
hamstring, which I don't blame them. Like I blamed them then, but I don't blame them now. Um, but yeah, I mean, it changed a lot of things because knowing that I just kept re-injuring myself that year, I was like, it's going to take a lot for me to come back. And I know that I can, but at the time also I was trying to be more realistic with myself. I knew at some point, everyone's got to hang up the cleats.
Right.
Everyone's got to make that decision. And I was like, for where the league is at now, there isn't enough money for me to go through that recovery process all over again through all these other injuries, try to get myself back to where I can perform and compete with everyone that is already going into the league
Right.
full strength. And then also, I mean, not make any money playing. I mean,
Yeah.
reality, there was no money at the time that I was trying to play. There was like no big, I mean, unless you're a women's national team star, there's no money.
Right.
And so many players are like, yeah, I play and I have 2 jobs on the side.
Yeah.
In women's professional soccer, that's crazy.
It is. It is. Who were the big national players when you were in high school and college? Because I remember Mia Hamm.
Yeah.
Again, that ages me, but still. And Brandy Chastain. Like I remember when she ripped off her shirt at the Olympics. I think it was the
Oh, yeah.
Olympics.
Yeah.
But like who were the people that you looked up to at that time?
I mean, I loved Kristen Press. I think she was an amazing player. Let me see. Alex Morgan was obviously a big name. I didn't look up to her because she wasn't my position, but I mean, everyone knows Alex Morgan. She's
Right.
amazing. Um, gosh, the list goes on. I mean, like even like Mallory Pugh. I know all their names have changed. That's why I'm trying to think through the names. um, several people. Gosh, she just got
See, I have the same issue. I do.
Um, Lynn Williams, she just also
Okay.
got married, but she just got named to the Hall of Fame, which is amazing. She's a local from California. She grew up in Fresno, I think.
Right.
And she's one of the people when I was saying, yeah, she was a forward and she didn't get past me. she's a women's national team star, and I remember defending her multiple times in college, and she's amazing. She's incredible. And like, even though she's not the same position as me, like these are people I look up to, as people I played with, people I grew up
Sure.
with. So
Yeah.
cool just to know that there are people playing at that level that, you know.
How much, did you ever feel like after you recovered from the ACL and you're going into that fifth year, did you ever have any hesitation, like the fear of tearing something again? Did that ever subconsciously kind of enter your brain as to when you're out there on the field and it's kind of controlling your actions?
100%.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I had told you this prior, but we had some nicknames that were given to me in college. My best friend, she was a goalkeeper. She used this at my wedding. This was part of her speech, but she said, "We turned Jasmine's name into a verb where at practice, if you didn't go into a hard tackle, you were going to get jazzed." So
Oh my God.
jazzed was a thing. My strength and conditioning coach called me Juggernaut, and my parents called me Brick Wall.
Wow.
So that was my biggest fear, was trying to learn how to tackle again with no hesitation the way
Yeah.
I used to. And I literally had multiple summer trainings with my physical therapist on just learning to read slide tackle.
But I would think that that is a normal reaction. Just like, like any sport, like um, horseback riding or football or uh, car racing, you have something that happens and I think that that's human,
Yeah.
that you have that hesitation that it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
Um, so you finish your senior year out. How were you different at the end of college versus the beginning of college?
I think I think after, I mean, my fifth year, I obviously wasn't playing and starting every game anymore. Um, it changed my outlook because I was able to see it from a different point of view. I was on the
Sure.
bench a lot, and or like coming off the bench to play. And so it's like, wow, like I think it gave me a lot more respect and empathy. I think I
Right.
became very empathetic, realizing, wow, like you've been a starter for 4 years and now you're not. And there
Right.
are people that have to go through things like this, or that start off college with injuries and have to work their way up, or maybe don't even ever see the field, or see the field for 10 minutes a game or
Right.
a season. So I think that helped me understand my teammates better. It helped me become a better leader in my last year, even though I was never a captain in college. But I like to believe I was, a silent captain, an off the field captain,
Sure.
with all the youngers that would come in. I try and help people just understand, like, hey, now might not be your moment, but something like that happens to me and I get off the field, and maybe that's your moment to shine. Like, as soon as someone
Sure.
gets injured, and you need to be ready for that moment. And you can't sit here and dwell that you're on the bench now, because if you have that mindset, you're never going to get on the field.
That's exactly right. And I do. I mean, I'm not saying that it's good you got hurt and everything, but teams need that leadership, whether it's official or not. People need to have others that can be there to support them. And for me, I think it gives you more value as a person, as a potential coach, which you do become. Um, let's talk about you. You graduate from college, and what's next? How did you feel that day after you got your diploma?
I cried. I was proud of myself because I was like, you went through an injury. You had to go do more schooling than you were prepared to do. For whatever reason, the ruling in school then was you couldn't take a minor. You had to have an actual major. I don't know. I don't know the specifics of it. So
Wow. Yeah.
I was done. I was supposed to graduate in 3.5 years from college right after my fall season. And that's
Right.
what I was prepared to do. I tore my ACL and basically had to pick up a whole new major. So I ended up doing
Wow.
back to back. It was like winter session, fall, summer, and spring. And I did 4 straight, like back to back semesters so I
Right.
could finish that second major. And then I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. Like, I've been a soccer player my whole life. Like, what do I do now? Because I never went in with the intention of I'm going to be a physical therapist. I'm going to
Right.
be an occupational therapist, or any of the things that kinesiology prepares you, or even health science prepares you to do. I kind of always had a thought that if I didn't continue playing, I would want to coach. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I think that was just like, hey, that's all I know. Like, and nobody prepares you for that shift either. Like from
They
the
don't.
high school to the college shift, nobody prepares you for that afterlife. And I think that now you're hearing a lot more of those stories of, hey, we're starting to build into that and they're
Right.
trying to make that transition better for kids these days. But there was nothing. And I was just like, it's such a hard cutoff. I was like, holy moly, what do I do now? I have to start in the real world. I have to be an adult, and I don't know the first place to start. So I
How
just
did
started coaching.
how did you get through each day then? How did you get up and decide you got to just keep going forward and what to do?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I had a lot of contacts. I'm a very bubbly person, and I was told that in school. I was part of our student athlete advisory committee, so I was always someone that was like trying to meet people and make contacts. And I remember someone in college told me, it's not about who you know, but it's about who knows you.
Yes, absolutely hit that on the dot.
I, was,
Yes.
I think it's different. Most people think it's, oh, it's who you know. No, it's,
No, it's who knows you.
and I think that really helped me because I knew a couple coaches, which helped me get into high school right away, and it helped me get a club team right away. And from there, it actually landed me a different job that I did simultaneously with the coaching. I went to one of the, I don't know, just one of the nights that they were hosting, and there was a speaker there. And the speaker was talking about this new, at the time, new invention. It was an AI camera that basically you set this camera up on a big 8-foot pole,
Right.
and the camera basically will, using the AI technology, will follow the players
Yes.
on the field. And at this time, that was groundbreaking. I mean, AI was not what it is today. They had these little trackers that the players would wear that would measure their metrics, and they just wear it on a little band around under their sock. It
Right.
was the coolest thing. It was breaking edge, and I was like, "This is incredible! I have to be a part of this. This is brand new, cutting edge technology." So I talked to this guy. I said, "Hey, like, are you guys hiring anybody? Do you need anybody?" And basically, we started talking. I got that job out of college, which was incredible. It was a sales job, which I knew nothing about sales, but I could talk to people. I played soccer,
Right.
easy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that and I coached. And that pretty much just kind of fell into my lap. I was like, this is fantastic. Now I have two things. I have coaching, which, you hear like most jobs, coaching and teaching, they don't pay, but you loved
Right.
it. So you do it because you love it. But then I had this other job that was paying well. And I was like, great, the best of both worlds.
So how did you evolve after that? Like when did it get to a point where you were like, I want something different?
Um, so my track record coaching back home, it's not that it was bad. I mean, I had a different experience, and I think each coaching experience led to something else
Sure.
where I started with high school, and then I started focusing more on club. And then I just had some very unfortunate situations, which I don't want to get into.
That's fine.
Um, but I just was like, okay, let's see what the next thing leads me to. So then my college coach says, hey, this junior college is looking for a coach. So then that's when I moved into the junior college realm. And I was an assistant coach there. That was fantastic. We ended up going to the third round of playoffs with that team. So I
Right.
was like, this is great. This is amazing.
Yes.
Resume. Like, let's keep it going. But again, quickly felt that the energy wasn't great there. It wasn't in the best area either. So that was not a bad move to make. But I didn't feel like I was being valued at that school anymore. And then I got a call from a coach who was saying, hey, I'm starting up a brand new college program. It's not NCAA, it's an NAIA, which is a
Mhm.
totally different league for those that don't know. But it's more of like the Christian, I think, Catholic schools, private schools.
Right.
So I was like, that's incredible. I have the chance to build a program from scratch. Why would I not want to do that? Good or bad, however this ends, like that's.
Sure.
So then I just moved from junior college into that realm and did that. And once again, just kind of didn't get the best thing there. We were in COVID year. That's when COVID basically
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
So it was weird. It was weird all the way around. And basically, that program didn't last for other reasons. But while we did play, we did get to play a little bit of the, I want to say, the fall. No, we played a season and we played about
Sure.
a few teams. And what was crazy is what we built with the players and the teams that we did. We were actually sitting in first place. We had both the men and women's goal score, like they had the most goals scored to that point in season. And then obviously things end up crumbling apart and we didn't get to finish season. But I was like, we really could have made something. If that school stayed together, if that program had stayed together, we would have been a force to be reckoned with. So,
It's crazy how things kind of work out. And, um, COVID definitely for athletes. And even after that, I've talked to a lot of athletes that had to play in empty gyms for basketball or, football. Uh, and mentally, that kind of gets to you as well.
so yeah.
For you, what's the hardest thing about coaching?
I think what I've noticed is that there has been a generational shift
Mm,
on how you talk and coach players
right,
because I think there was so much, it was very male dominated back then. Now there's still not a huge
right.
amount of women coaching, but I mean, you could just be yelled at, yelled at, yelled at. And like we took it. I mean, maybe not everyone loved it, but like most of us just took it. And that's how you were coached and like just screamed
Sure.
at, kept pushing through. And now I feel like you can see the difference when you're yelling at a player and when you're really like pulling them aside and constructive criticism and
Yes.
teaching them the right way. Some
Yes.
players still like that hard, just yell at me and tell me what to do. And some players need that more like, hey, pull me aside and coach me and tell me what I'm doing wrong. I need more of a visual. And not everyone can take it's not a one size fits all. And
Oh,
I think
exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean it's probably always been that way, but nobody's it's that's the shift that you see as a coach is like now you can't just coach everybody one way because it's not gonna you're not gonna get through to
No,
everybody.
you can't. And, if you talk about teaching, you can't teach everybody the same way either. Like everyone learns in different ways and everyone reacts to things in different ways. And, and I think that it's not necessarily that the player or whoever is soft or wimpy or whatever they want to call it. It's just there's different learning styles,
Yeah.
you know. And I honestly I don't like to see the coaches out there screaming their head off. Like I remember last year, the UConn men's basketball coach, like screaming till he was like, I thought he was going to have a heart attack. Like he was screaming so much. But, he's not the only one. I see that. And then I see the other ones that can calmly coach on the court during a game. And I don't know. I just think that that is gets a better result
Yeah.
overall. When did you decide or did you decide that coaching, like you were going to go a different route?
Yeah, it was at that point. So when COVID year hit and basically that team kind of dissolved, I was like, okay, this has been a few schools now where for one reason or another I've left. It hasn't worked. It just whatever the case is.
Right.
And I was like, I think once again, I kind of went back to my spiritual side and I said, I think God is trying to tell me something. Like maybe this isn't it for you anymore. Maybe you're being led down a different path. I didn't know what that was. And the literal story of it is I posted on LinkedIn. I was looking for a sports job. I said, hey, is anyone hiring in the sports world? And my old strength and conditioning coach reached out to me and he said, hey, I remember coaching you in college. I'm no longer a coach myself either, but I work in finance now. Are you looking for a job? Would you be open to hearing me out? And at that point, I was like, well, I am making no money. So I am in no room to turn down any offer. And we sat down and we talked, and I was like, this sounds like the easiest thing ever. Why would I say no? So I just jumped in and dove head first and said, let's figure this out.
So what exactly, like, what was that you ended up doing?
Yeah, I went and I was actually working in Charles Schwab, the finance
Mhm.
investment banking. For those that don't know or maybe do know, I started off as just working the front desk, helping the financial consultants in the office, doing paperwork, simple things like that, depositing
Right.
checks. But I ended up staying with the company for almost 3 years, I believe it was. And that was also during my move to Tennessee. So throughout that time, I was also working on getting licensed because
Sure.
When I started there, you actually do have to get licensed. Now it's changed a little bit, but I went through a licensing process where I got my SIE, my Series 7, and my Series 66. And I think all in all, that took about a year and a half because I am not a good test taker. Let's put it that way. And I hadn't taken any tests since college. So that was rough. That was probably the hardest thing after my ACL that I had ever had to do, was try and pass those exams. But I did. I passed them all, and then I ended up promoting into what was called like an investment consultant, where I was
Mm-hmm.
actually able to speak and give advice to people about their finances.
How does that whole experience, how does it give you any confidence when it comes to how you show up in the world now, business wise?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it helped me just build a confidence in myself I didn't know I had because, as I had mentioned, I thought all I knew was soccer. I thought that's all I
Right.
was good at and good for. And then when I realized, like, wow, like when you push yourself, which I should have known, like you can do other things and you can be great at other things. So, I mean, it is really tricky in the finance world. You can't just like openly give advice, which is
Sure.
crazy. You can see people doing that on social media.
Oh, yes.
Um, but I'm able to talk people through who don't understand it. I at least like talk to my friends and tell them like how they can go about doing things without actually saying, "Hey, invest in this." Like, you know what I mean? I can at least guide them and help people make better decisions than they're probably currently making because I didn't know. And that was kind of my idea going into it, was like, "Hey, you're not coaching soccer anymore, but now you're coaching people with their finances and giving people an
Sure.
idea of how to build their money and build their wealth."
And I think for women especially, the subject of money is really hard.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And I think that educating them, not even telling them what to do, but educating them on the financial aspect, on money in general, it gives a sense of self-confidence that those women may not have had before.
Yeah.
And I think that is important. I think that's really important because education, it does get, when you know more about what you're doing, it gives you more of self-confidence. It gives you more power
Yeah, 100%.
over yourself and over your future. Let's talk about your little boy,
Yeah.
pregnancy.
Oh yeah.
You've been an athlete and suddenly you're pregnant. How was that? Was that hard to deal with, your body changing? Was that easy for you to deal with? Like how did that mentally play?
Yeah. So that was a whirlwind. He was a little surprise baby.
That's okay. That's okay.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely think it was crazy because I just thought like, oh, I'm gonna be pregnant and I'm gonna be one of those super athletic people that's just running and doing stuff and being healthy all the time. No, my pregnancy was not fun. I was sick the first trimester, so I
Okay.
couldn't. I think I survived on bowls of cereal and fruit, which is terrible. But that's pretty much what my diet was. Everything I smelled did not make me feel good. Everything I looked at, just nothing was appetizing. Fast forward to close to my third trimester, I find out I have gestational diabetes.
Yeah.
And I'm just mind blown because I'm like, I've been healthy my whole life. I've never been pre diabetic. And then they just slap this on me. And they obviously explain, sometimes it just happens to people,
Sure.
the healthiest people, the non-healthy, like they said, gestational diabetes doesn't judge, is how they.
That's true.
So that was a curveball for me because I was like, well, now I need to change my whole diet. And even though I eat healthy generally,
Right.
um, now I'm like, well, what do I do? How do I cut out carbs? How do I eat protein a certain way? Like I started following all these different influencers that are, diabetes people, and it was just bad. It just was something really hard. No matter how hard I tried, it just progressively got worse. I had to prick my finger 4 times a day, and it got to the point where
Jeez.
even though I was doing all my stuff, I would walk after I eat. I would cut carbs or just not even eat carbs sometimes. I ended up having to take insulin, and Thankfully, my baby is very healthy. He is the healthiest little thing ever. But yeah, that was a shift. And even my now husband, he went through the process with me, and he's like, if we have another kid, we have diabetes again, I am not cutting out carbs with you again. I did it the first round.
How are you still diabetic in any way?
No, thankfully, they
Thank
did say
that's
there's a chance that it could progress into actual diabetes, but mine,
right.
thankfully.
And I meant to ask this before. How did your relationship with exercise change after your retirement from soccer?
Yeah, I mean, outside of coaching, I had worked in a private gym for a little bit where we focused actually on ACL specific athletes and just it was a preventative program where we were trying to do more band work and strengthening. So I was still trying to stay involved. Um, there was a time where I fell off. I mean, granted, you get older and life changes where I wasn't being my healthiest. Probably
And
goes along
you're probably you no longer have that discipline or that goal to reach for as well.
exactly. Like, I mean, it would come and go in like ebbs and flows where I would have a moment of like, oh gosh, I look terrible, I feel terrible, let's work out again. And then I'd get healthy and I'd be like, let's do this. And then, I'd get sick for a week and then just back down. So trying to just balance that after college when you don't really have a real structure is definitely a challenge for sure.
Or goal. That's what a lot of people talked about is they no longer have that goal to work towards.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily know how to handle the exercise any longer.
Yeah. So, I mean, prior to the pregnancy, my only goal, I was going to play overseas. And like I said, it wasn't professional or anything. It was just some amateur soccer, but it was just a
Okay.
fun experience.
I don't care if it's amateur soccer. You still played overseas.
Yes, we had a team that we put together here in the States, mostly people from California, but I mean, some people were living out of state and knew the guy that put this team together. So we all just, we had a tryout and we formed, there
You
was a,
still played. You still played overseas. Do not cut that short, okay? Because you don't see every kid in the United States playing overseas in any capacity, right?
yeah, that's true. That's true. So we prepared this team, and I've done this twice now, where we tried out, we made the team. There was an adult team and two younger teams, and we basically went overseas to go watch the Women's World Cup and play teams in those local countries that we were in. So we did
I
that.
think that is so cool.
It was probably the best experience of my life, for sure.
Because I see it as I think there's less pressure than you can just enjoy
Oh
playing
yeah.
soccer.
Oh yeah. I think I played forward on those teams a few times. I still obviously defender because that's what they know me as, but I
Right.
got to play up top and we played in Spain. We had a tournament there and then we played a couple friendlies in France. And then the second trip I did, we went to Australia and New Zealand and it was so cool.
Okay. So do me a favor. And when you talk about this in the future, don't say I played overseas for fun.
Okay.
Because playing in your backyard is for fun. Okay.
Fair.
Okay.
Fair.
I think that, like I said, not everybody gets to do that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about it for what it is. You had that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I love that. What was the favorite part of that whole experience overseas?
For me, I mean, one being in other countries because the
Yeah.
only thing I had done prior to that was a study abroad in Greece. So being able to travel to multiple countries and just view the cultures and be in different places, I couldn't ask for anything cooler than that for an experience. And then obviously getting to play and just see how other countries and other players like grow up and what it looks like. I mean, I think when we were we did one friendly in Ibiza.
Hmm.
Um, and that team, it was so cool. We got to barbecue with them after and just the way that the sport brings people together. Like, half of us don't speak the same language, but we're
Right.
eating together and having community even after we just beat the crap out of them. And everyone just total friends and happy and just so nice afterwards. It's just amazing. Like it's so incredible to be able to have that fellowship with other players from all over the world.
Well, and not only that, like look at it from their experience too. They're getting to play with people from other countries.
Yeah.
and that has to be really exciting for them. So you did study abroad in Greece?
Yes, in college.
So what did you do in Greece? What did you study in Greece?
That was when I was still doing my kinesiology degree. So we went over there. It was super cool because everything was centered around the Olympic Games, the whole curriculum that we did.
I love that.
Yeah. And it was so much fun because we went and saw, I think, 4 or 5 different ancient Olympic sites. And then we got to see where it was actually held in Athens, the big one
Okay,
that they
that gives me freaking chills. Can I just tell you that? That is the coolest thing.
it was awesome. It really was.
Now, how long were you over there?
Greece was about I want to say a week and a half, 2 weeks.
That's okay.
And then my other 2 trips were about 3 weeks.
Oh, so you went back multiple times.
The
Oh,
trips
oh,
in
okay, okay,
Spain and Australia
okay,
were about.
okay, okay. No, that's extremely cool. That's another thing to put on that resume and on LinkedIn. Okay. You moved across the country, and we kind of talked about that initially on the before we started recording. But uh, what was that whole process like to move from California to Tennessee?
Yeah, I mean, it was 4 days straight of driving. The hard part was my dad was driving my U-Haul and I was driving my Toyota Rav with my dog in the trunk. So we had nobody to talk to. The only way we could
And
talk
for
was
those out there, it's not like a closed trunk like you see in a car.
no.
I just want to make sure because you said in the trunk, and I'm like, I'm sure people are going to be like, she put her dog in the trunk and shut it up. No, no, it doesn't have like it's not like closed like a car.
There was a sky roof and he
That's
had
right.
all the space. That dog was comfier than I could ever
I'm
be.
sure.
So yeah, I mean, the only way we could communicate was calling each other. And we didn't have too bad of weather, but I mean, the first day we got up from California, we got up crack of dawn. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 a.m. And I think we did a 15-hour day on the first day to
Wow.
get us to Albuquerque. And then it was, I think each day after that was about 8 to 10 hour days of
So
just
you
driving.
drove. So you drove across Texas too.
Yeah.
Um, when I was in Houston, I took a 6 week road trip, and I went from Houston to Albuquerque up through Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, and came down. I mean, you saw a really large part of the southern United States going through there.
Yeah.
Although not a lot to see going through Texas,
No.
not a lot at all. But I mean, that was kind of an experience in itself.
Yeah.
And now you live in Knoxville.
Mhm.
And we were talking, and I can't remember if this was before we started recording or not, but what's your biggest takeaway from living in Knoxville now? You've been there, what, 2.5 years is what you said?
Mhm. Outside of what I had mentioned earlier with like the people just being so genuine, I finally know what a college town is like.
Yes.
Because I had no teams back home that I really supported. I mean, I went to a small
Yes.
state school, and I wasn't a USC or UCLA fan. So I came here, and I think we appeared on a weekend. I want to say it was a Friday when we drove into town. And I was like, I need to make a run to Target. So I could go to Target, I want to say on Saturday.
Oh,
I
no.
literally just felt like I walked into a movie. Every single person was in their bright orange
Yes.
outfit everywhere you look. And I was like, what is happening? Are these people playing me right now? There's no way people are this peppy. And this
They
spirit,
are.
they are. And
They
let
are.
me tell you, the first time I heard Rocky Top, woo, I was not prepared for that. But it has been so much fun. I mean, like just the fandom, I'm like, I love it. I mean, I'm such a bandwagoner now. I have so many orange shirts and orange jackets.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to send you a Memphis shirt. Everybody that's listening to this is like, we don't like Knoxville. But when I moved to Houston, that was one of the things I had a really hard time with. Like they have like 4, 5, 6 colleges there.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you go to some of those games, there's not many people there.
Yeah.
Plus it's like the third largest city in the United States. For me, that was really difficult because going to college in Memphis, like it's the same thing as Knoxville. Like everybody on game day is wearing tiger blue and all this other stuff, and like it's the fabric of the city, like it is in Knoxville. So when I'm in Houston, I'm like, this is just weird.
Yeah.
Like to me, there was no identity. And I guess that's kind of how I kind of saw it is there's no identity. I can't really connect with the city. And to me, it was just too big. Um, let's talk about your business.
Yeah.
When did it come up? Why did it come up? And what do you want to do with it?
Yeah, so this past year, along with having the baby, I stepped away from finance.
Hmm.
Um, I knew I didn't want to do it long term. It was a
Sure.
season, and there's a reason for a season, right?
Right. And you got education and yes, you know more now.
And honestly, what I realized when I had him is that I was like, man, I am watching my parents raise my kid. I am watching him through videos, which I'm more fortunate than most people that have to send their kid to daycare. But I was like, this is horrible. I don't like this. And so I am fortunate and blessed that my husband, he owns a restaurant.
Hmm.
And he was like, if you want to stay home, I fully support you. Like, we can make this happen. So I stopped at Schwab. I am staying at home as a full stay at home mom now. And I just keep seeing people left and right, hey, start a business, do this, do that. And I'm like, why can't I? Like, why not?
Exactly. Exactly.
And I knew I wanted to get back into soccer, but obviously I'm not trying to go back to work full time because I still want to be with my little one.
Sure. Sure.
So that was the idea. I was like, I need to start doing private training. Like, I've done it in the past, but just as a hobby on top of all the coaching I was doing. I was like, now I can actually make this my business. I can create my schedule and train when I want, and I
Hmm.
still have time for my little one.
Exactly. So where can people get a hold of you?
Right now, I have just started my Instagram. I am not big on socials yet because my generation was not big on social. So I'm trying to build my brand up. But I have my Instagram. It
So
is,
so when you got out of college,
mhm,
when was that? What, 2013?
yes, 20. Well, no, sorry. 2013 was when I started. I finished soccer in 2017 and walked in 2018.
So you didn't have social media while you were in college because that was still that was a big thing still. Or
We
had
had Instagram, but the whole name, image, likeness, NIL stuff
yes,
was going
yes,
on.
yes,
I literally want to say started probably the year or two
yes.
after I graduated, and that's when they went full force and all the deals and everything like that. And I was like, whoa, should I just go back to like what happened? That could have been I could have been getting paid this whole time.
Exactly, exactly. More advice, build up your Instagram, but also build up your LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Connect with as many people as you can in the area that you live in, because you know you could also do coaching through Zoom. There's so many things that you can do,
yeah.
and I'm just very excited to see where you take this. Okay, so what's your handle on Instagram? I'm getting ahead of myself.
You're good. It's Jazz Football 25.
Okay, and on LinkedIn,
Oh goodness, my LinkedIn. I have to pull that up for you real quick. LinkedIn.
is it Jazzmin
Yeah,
Mancilla?
it's Jazzmin Mancilla.
Okay. And I'll put all those links in the show notes. And if you're watching the YouTube, it'll be down here on the thing. Uh, uh, a couple of things like, how do you feel different today than you did 10 years ago? How do you think you've changed?
I think my confidence level is just different. The way that I communicate with people and can reflect and educate younger kids is different. I mean, even when I was playing after college, all these trips that I've done, I'm like, man, if I would have just been this calm and this relaxed and not thought so much about everything. And I mean, it's hard to say that when you're in the moment, when you're
Sure,
in
it
college,
is.
you have a
Absolutely.
plan. They like when college coaches have a plan, like you stick to that plan and you don't stray from it. But I realized how much better I could be when I wasn't fit into a box. And I
Yes.
was like, man, I have so much more to give, and I just never was able to give all that because, you just don't go outside of the lines. So I think now, like, that's allowed me to see like how much potential I have, and it's also allowed me to speak more openly about, hey, this is what I would change, this is what I could have done better, this is how you should start now as a young kid, and the way that you should go about things. I mean, obviously, you know, in your own way, but
Sure. If you could go back and talk to your 9-year-old self, what would you tell her?
I think to just be confident, just believe in yourself. I mean, even though I've said that, like, I knew what I wanted to do, I think I got so caught up so many times in like trying to do
Mm.
what I was told instead of showing my own color through and showing my own personality through and the way I play, that I think it took away from what I actually had to give. Because I think I started to notice that how other players played more freely when they took my position after I got injured. And I'm like, I can do all that. I could have done all that. But I felt like I had to do it one way. I wasn't allowed to do it my way. So I think, I mean, respectfully, follow, the rules and the plans that you have to be a part of the team you're on,
Right.
but don't be afraid to let your light shine too, and just let your creative and your rhythm flow.
What do you think you would have done differently if you'd had that more of that mindset?
I think what went away from I was a lot more free to do what I wanted my freshman year, and maybe it's because you're a freshman and they don't expect a lot
Sure.
out of you.
Sure.
I think I was so much more aggressive with like getting up the line when I was younger, or like a freshman in college, and just attacking more. And I think that slowly got drawn back, where I became like a very definite, no, you're a defender. You're not a defender that gets up. You're just a defender that
Ah,
you're
I
a
see.
lockdown defender.
Right. Right.
And so I think that part of my play, I wish I would have just kept going at more and dove in more. But I think that's to say also, I wish I would have given myself more time. And I practiced a lot after practices, personal stuff that I would do to try and improve my game, but never enough on skill work. And I think that's something you see a lot in this younger generation is they are on their cones doing their skills. Like kids love filming themselves do that these days. I wish I would have done more of that when I was younger.
I do wish, and maybe because obviously I see more basketball around here. Um, but the issue that I see now, especially with the boys, is that they think that they need to work on their dunks and they need to work on their skill set. They need to work on their dribbling. They need to work on moving around on the court, all those kind of things. It goes back to the basics of the sport because when it comes down to it, a dunk is just a dunk.
Yeah.
You got to move the ball, whatever it is. And so that's kind of what I've noticed the past few years. What do you think would have helped you in, like, what do you think in high school and college you could have had that would have helped you transition after college into the real world, so to speak, or into a career outside of soccer?
Um, I mean, it's so easy to say it's not as accessible to have, but I mean, like having more mentorship, having some pathway where you can talk to people that have been through it. I mean, I know a few people now are writing books about that, but not everyone's a book reader. I mean, I don't know if they're
Sure.
doing audio of those books, but I think some kind of, yeah, some kind of like actual pathway program, or if somebody has started a podcast, maybe I haven't heard of it, but just ways for people to hear other people who have been along the same path as them and just know,
Yeah.
like, hey, you're going to be okay. This is what I've done. This is what my route has led me down. Something like that, I think would be super helpful because I feel like when you're in that moment and you're doing that transition, like you're like, well, where do I go? Like, who do I talk to? And there's just no clear, obvious answer.
And you're right. I wish that more schools looked at that and looked at, okay, only a few players, no matter what your sport is, only a few are going to make it to the professional level. And even when they get there, they could get hurt. They could get somebody else is better than them. Like there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
And I wish more schools would look into, okay, you want to be an athlete? Great. You want that goal to play pro sports? Great. Let's look at what else you need to know to go along with that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish that, that was one of the things when we were talking about prior to recording was, why I kept going on with this podcast after my co-host stepped out of it. And it was that I'd had so many athletes tell me, thank you for letting me tell my story. Thank you for letting me share my ups and downs because I hope it helps the next generation.
Yeah.
And I actually had, and I can't, Angie Allen. She is an assistant athletic director with the Big West Conference. I had her on like a month ago.
Hmm.
And she talked about how she was going to start sharing this podcast with some of her athletes because she thought, especially the women, because she thought it was important for them to hear other people's stories,
Yeah.
to be able to see, things that have happened to other women and other athletes in general, because it is important. And they don't teach that in school. And I would love to see, I do know that I think that the NFL has now like a broadcasting camp or something where football players can actually go and learn how to be a sports broadcaster, like in the summer or something. But I do think that more pathways, legitimate pathways in high school and college is important. And just kind of sports is not the end all be all of everything. There is life after that. Your career is going to end at some point.
Yeah.
And I would rather see people be educated and self confident in what they're going to do next from that. Okay, so flash fire Q&A really quick, 5 questions, and that will be the end of this.
Yeah.
Latest TV show or movie that you loved?
I recently watched two shows, Smoke and Wayward, I think it is on Netflix.
I haven't heard of Wayward. I've heard of Smoke.
Smoke's
Okay.
great.
Okay. Texting or calling?
We had FaceTiming.
Ah, love that. Okay. Okay. I should add that to the next person. Okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Now with the child, I am
Yes.
definitely an early bird.
Okay. City you most want to visit next,
So
or
this is where
or country?
I was gonna say this is where we're debating our honeymoon, but possibly like the Amalfi Coast or Positano, Italy.
Oh my God, I would love that. Okay. And if you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
Mm, probably. I think I'm a pretty good cook, but the way that they chop stuff super fast, I know that sounds so dumb, but if I
No,
could,
it's amazing to watch them.
yeah, just cooking in general and being able to just be like a Michelin star chef, that'd be amazing.
I love that. Jasmine, thank you so much for being on the show today. I so appreciate it. And I've loved learning about your story. And welcome to Tennessee, is what I can say.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure being here and talking with you so much.
Okay, and for all of you out there, thank you for watching and listening, especially if you've made it all the way to this part of the show. I appreciate all of your support. Another reminder to subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch. My mantra is like, share, and review. So remember to go give us a review on Apple or Spotify. Follow us on social media at 5THQRT Podcast. And hey, take a screenshot and share it on Instagram. Until next time, remember, change is our ally and it paves the way for greatness. Stay inspired. Have a great rest of the week.